Face 1 year in prison if found guilty of having sex outside of marriage. It's part of a sweeping change to the criminal code passed by Parliament earlier today. The law will also apply to foreigners visiting the country. In addition, cohabitation before marriage is an offence that can result in jail time, and blasphemy, already outlawed, now carries a possible 5-year prison term. Protesters and rights groups warn the new laws will disproportionately hurt women, LGBTQ people and minority groups. For more on this, we want to bring in Anna Corrin. She joins us live from Hong Kong. Good to see you, Anna. So how does Indonesia plan to enforce this new criminal code, and what impact might it have on the country's tourism industry, given foreigners can also be jailed for having sex outside marriage?
Yeah, but tourism is a huge industry for Indonesia, Rosemary, as we know, and the tourism industry is very concerned about what this means. They say that this is very troublesome, that this is counterintuitive to what the tourism industry is all about, attracting Westerners, whether they be Australians, Europeans, Americans, to places like Bali, and that those Western couples, many of them, are not married. So this is highly problematic. And look, there is no guidance as yet from the government, from law enforcement, about how this will be enforced, how this will work in practice. Obviously, this was passed a bit earlier today by the Indonesian Parliament. I mean, you mentioned sex outside of marriage. That is one of the offences that now will, if found guilty, will lead to jail time. But cohabitation, amongst unmarried couples, that is also a criminal offence, as is promoting contraception, blasphemy, apostasy, criticising the president, the vice president, the government, state institutions. These are now all jailable offences, and human rights groups, Rosemary, are extremely concerned that this is going to erode the hard-fought, democratic freedoms that Indonesians have enjoyed, and obviously that morality in Indonesia will now be policed. And you mentioned that it's not just for the people who live in Indonesia, it's also for Indonesian citizens, but for foreigners as well, tourists visiting the country. So real concerns about where Indonesia is heading. It's the third largest democracy in the world, Rosemary, and up until now has been a predominantly moderate Muslim country.
And why is this happening now, Anna?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Rosemary. This initial draft, they came up with this back in 1963. So this has been at work for decades. It was reintroduced in 2019, and the President Joko Widodo, he pushed it away, delayed it, obviously citing COVID as well as the need for more discussion, because in 2019 there were huge protests right across the country as people were very concerned about what this would mean for their individual rights, their individual freedoms. It is now being brought back on the table, and that has come with the rise of ultra-conservatism within Indonesia. And human rights groups are saying that the laws that are now in place under this new criminal code, that they are Sharia-inspired laws. As this movement, very highly Islamic, ultra-orthodox movement, has great influence, and that the president is playing ball, playing along, trying to keep these politicians happy. So these laws causing huge concern. You mentioned for the minority groups, for women, the LGBT community, but obviously the devil will be in the detail. And we also know that it'll be some 3 years before they are actually enforced, Rosemary.
Right. All right. Anna Corrin bringing us the very latest there from Hong Kong. Appreciate it.